you have to qualify for insurance. Your insurance ratings are going to be higher. The cost of insurance is going to be higher. And there's no guarantee you're going to be able to that you're going to be able to get that insurance in the first place, right? So that's the first problem. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and for this video, we're gonna be tackling the age-old debate of 1090 policies versus more traditional banking style policies, and ultimately why I don't believe 1090 policies are the best. Now, I get that question all the time, and I figured while I'm not gonna be able to answer every single question, in the spirit of what I try to do on this channel is I want to break it down into its simplest parts. I want to make it make sense, and I'm going to walk you through my thought process as I'm trying to navigate the life cycle of life insurance. So before making it confusing, what I've done is I've had several illustrations put together for me, and I'm going to go through these illustrations with you and look at the life cycle of one individual with a set amount of premium that we're looking to target to be able to fund a policy over a prolonged period of time. And so let's get into this. All right, so as you can see here, one of the things that I've done is I've got several illustrations open, right? I have this illustration for a 35-year-old standard non-tobacco. That's just a 35-year-old male. That's what I wanted to look at for a life cycle, because I wanted to kind of take a look at like a 40-year window or so from 35 to 75 and take a look at what does it look like from a life cycle perspective as far as cash growth and death benefit growth, and how this policy ultimately matures, right? So looking at this, when you leverage a 1090 policy, and I'll get into the other policies here in a second, but when you leverage a 1090 policy, what happens is you have to, typically, depending on the company, you have to utilize some sort of term rider or term rider blend to be able to accomplish this. Now, full transparency, I had this run with a company that I happen to love. It's Lafayette Life Insurance Company. This is just the way that they do it, and we utilized a 10-year term rider to be able to accomplish this. Now, in this, you can see here that based on the MEC limits and everything they're able to do, I was shooting for a $10,000-ish range of premium, and I wanted to try to get as much money front-loaded into the policy as I could year one. Now, with the 1090 blend of policy, you can see I was only able to put about an extra $10,000 into the policy. So out of that, just kind of go through this in summary for the first 10 years or so, you have $18,562 liquid and a $369,000 death benefit right out of the gate. Now, 10 years in, you've put a total premium of $111,000 into the premium, and you got $127,000 of net cash value with a $578,000 death benefit. Now, you can see in year 11 that the total premium goes down a little bit to $9,819, and then year 12, it drops off. Now, here's where the problems kind of start to begin for 1090 policies. Because when you do a 1090 policy, this is why I always tell people you need to think long term. And when you think long term, you start to realize, well, why do I have to stop putting all this money into this, right? Now, I understand people want to stack policies and so on and so forth, and I'm a big proponent of stacking policies and getting as many as you can. However, that stacking of policies should be as you have more cash flow, because we want to utilize these to get cash flowing assets, right? And then as we do that, it should create more cash flow, and we should be earning more cash flow, whether it's actively or passively or a combination of the two together. And then at that point in time, we should be able to have this $10,000 effectively go all the way through the age of 75 if we want it to, or as long as we want. But in this example, because of the fact that we had to use a term rider blend and or a term rider for 10 years to do this at $9,800, what happens is starting in year 12, we're not able to put any more than $1,290 into this policy. And so now we're limited. Our ability to fund this is totally squashed from us. Now, people that will sell you this will tell you that, you know what, just go get another one. But they're not telling you that you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to qualify for insurance at that point in time. 10 years from now, even for a 35-year-old at 46 years old, a lot of things happen, right? Actually, at 47, let's just say he paid the $98.19 there in year 11, and then year 12 at 47 years old, he had to go out and get a new policy, right? If that happened, he's going to have to qualify for that insurance, and the insurance is going to be more expensive simply because let's face it, he's older, right? And so that's what I did. I went through this and I said, okay, what does that look like? So I did the 10,137 and I minus the 1290 and I came up with a premium. Couldn't get this right to the dollar, but I got it pretty ballpark, right? I got it pretty close. And so what I did say now is I said, okay, let's do an 8860 premium, because that's the 8860 plus the 1290 gets us to roughly the premium that we were paying for the first 10 years. And so now we're combining those two. And now you can see this goes all the way through year 57, but then at 57, it drops to 1479 in 58. And then at 59, it drops down to 1435. So what I did then was I said, okay, let's do another policy and say, okay, we know we're gonna have to make those two premiums. So let's do another one starting at age 59 or 58. He'll be 59 at the end of the first year. So at this point in time, you can see the combination of all of the premiums roughly is in that $10,000 range. That's what I was trying to have these designed to do, is keep the premiums the same all the way as long as possible. Now, even in this one, what you see is at year 71, age 71, the premium drops off. And so you're not able to fund it. And by the way, at 71, you're gonna have a hard time qualifying for more insurance at that point in time. It's probably gonna be cost prohibitive based on the funding mechanisms that you're dealing with. And so we are where we are. These are the variables that you have to deal with. Now, as I said, there's a couple problems in this, in that the policies that I just walked you through, this is the 35-year-old, this is the 47-year-old, and this is the 58-year-old, right? When you look at these, every time you have to go out and get this policy at 47 and then the policy at 58, you have to qualify for insurance. Your insurance ratings are going to be higher. The cost of insurance is going to be higher. And there's no guarantee you're going to be able to that you're going to be able to get that insurance in the first place, right? So that's the first problem. Now what happens, and I did some numbers here, so I want to look at the numbers that I wrote out because I kind of try to prep ahead of this. So as we go through this. So now what happens is I'm going to go down here to age 75, right? And you could see at age 75, on policy one, you got a cumulative premium of 156, $531,000 of net cash value, and $665,000 of death benefit. In the second policy that you start at 47, you get down to 75, and you have $114,000 of cumulative premium, $236,000 in net cash value, $298,000 of death benefit. And in the third policy that you start at 58, by the time you hit 75, you have $99,000 of cumulative premium, $128,000 of cash value, and $169,000 in death benefit. What does that look like? So I did the math here, and it looks like the cumulative premium, oh, I thought I did the math, but here, let me add that up again. I wrote it all out. So the cumulative premium is about $370,000 that you have on these policies side that you pay through 75 years old. And what's going to happen here is that the net cash value, the total cash value that you have available in those policies is about $895,000 when you look at them all combined. And so you've put in 370, you have 895 of cash value, and so that's kind of where you stand with the 1090 policy. Now, what is the attraction to the 1090 policy in this scenario? Well, when you first started, let's go back to the first policy, because that's when you're starting it. And if you're starting it now, this is probably why you're doing it, right? You're looking at this first 10-year period. Well, the attraction here is looking at the numbers saying, okay, I put in 21,137. I got 18,562 divided by, let's go, 2137. And you got basically 92% liquidity. So the attraction to this is that early liquid access to capital, right, to your money. And then you look at it, the break-even point is about year 5. You could see here you put in 60,000 here. It's at 61 here, so the break-even is year 5, and year 10, it's looking good, right? I mean, you got probably about a 12% gain over a 10-year period, which, obviously from an investment perspective isn't anything to write home about. However, it's the liquid accessible cash that matters, right? And so you leverage that for the and asset investments that you're talking about outside of the policy. And when you look at it from that perspective, now whatever the returns in the real estate that you're doing or your business or whatever, that's what really attracts people to this. Now that I've compared all three of these, let's just take a look at why I love what I would call the front loading strategy of a policy, because front loading these policies is ultimately where the magic comes. Because here you go. This is the one thing I want to talk to you about before I actually go there. Let me give this one example. I gave this example of 20,137 that we're loading that money in. And so in that situation, the reason I didn't do more is because I wasn't able to do more with the 1090 policy. The only way I could do more is by increasing the base, right? And I just want to show this because I want to be able to get more into this policy as quickly as possible. And so by going to a non-1090 policy, I'm able to then go into this and I'm able to put more money into the policy. And I just did this one together to kind of show a comparison. And you can see year one, I'm able to put $60,000 into the policy. Now, that's not that much more ultimately over the long life cycle of this policy. We're talking about, instead of having 3 policies, now I'm looking at just having this one policy. This, full transparency, is a $50,000 dump in, the $10,000 annual premium, as you can see here. And then after that, you don't have to deal with anything else. I have the same 10-year term rider, because you can see right here, the term rider drops off significantly. But the beautiful part is, because of the way that we front loaded it and because of the way the term rider and the base to PUA combination works, I'm able to fund this inside of one policy for the duration. Now, the negative side of having a 50-50 blend policy is the fact that people go, well, I'm not gonna have access to a big portion of my cash, and I want to have access to my cash. Okay, fair enough, fair statement. If you are not utilizing a front-loaded dump in the policy, that's 100% accurate. However, in this scenario, because we're utilizing a big paid-up additions with a blend of the 50-50 for the premium, for the base with the paid-up additions, for the main premium of $10,000, that is where the magic happens, because you're not doing 50-50 on everything. You could do that single paid up additions rider on the beginning. That money gets working for you. That's going to make everything else that you have more efficient. And because of the fact that you're doing a higher base, it's going to perform better in the long run. And I got the math to prove it here with just one policy. Now, let's go down through and look at what this looks like. Now, you can see year one. Now, I remember you had about 92% liquidity in the 1090 policy. In this policy, 54,425 divided by 60,000. You have about 91% liquidity. So you lose 1% liquidity of your money. That is all when you utilize this strategy of the dump in. But when you're about to see what it does on the back end of it, it's going to blow your mind. Now you can see by year 2, you're basically breaking even on the policy. You're putting 10,000 in, it's growing by 10,000. It does take a little bit longer to hit that offset or the break even. You got 110,000 in premium right here at year 6. The 1090 policy did break even at year 5. This breaks even at year 6. But at year 10, you're at about the same internal rate of return. So does it cost you a little bit on the front end? Yeah, you're giving up a little liquidity. It takes 1 extra year to break even, but it's pretty close in year 5 as it is. You could see you're only about $3,000 off, actually just over $2,000 off here from breaking even. And so is it that bad? In my opinion, no. But the beautiful part here is, unlike, and I'm going to go back over to this policy right here, the initial policy, unlike this one where you at year 12, you drop down to $1,290 in premium. This one, you're able to fund it at $9,326 every single year. And what happens is you can see this grows. Now the term rider, as I said, drops off. It goes to $445, but it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows. The death benefit's growing, the cash value's growing. And let's get all the way out to age 75 here, because we want to look at that 40-year window, right? And this is the beautiful thing, guys. I mean, like, seriously, remember, in this policy, we only put in an extra $40,000 of total premium. That's important to understand. Roughly $40,000 is all we put in extra premium. However, this policy ends up with, instead of $895,000 of cash value, we have almost 1.1, so about 1.091. So 895 divided by 1091. So you basically have 18% more cash in the policy at age 75. And here's what I'm going to tell you. This is on a much more guaranteed basis. And I don't want to say guaranteed basis because these dividends are not guaranteed in the current column, the assumptions that we're going off. So this isn't guaranteed. But what I will say is I believe this is actually going to outperform what I'm showing you here because we're in this low all-time dividend rate environment. And I think over the next 40 years, dividends have to go up compared to where they are now. So I am a firm believer that whole life policies are going to outperform what they're doing, and that this example that I'm showing you with this having 18% more cash value in it than the 1090 policies at that point in time with the same funding mechanisms, essentially with the same amount of cash going in, year out, it is what it is. Now, if we took out the $40,000, let's just say we took $40,000 off that and it's $1,051,000. 895 divided by 1,051,000. You're talking about a 15% more cash return, more cash value at that point in time. And you have more death benefit. Instead of having 1.132 in death benefit, you have 1.368 in death benefit. But now, once again, listen, I don't want to go like too crazy on these numbers because the bottom line is these numbers are not dollar for dollar. And I understand there's some nuances. I understand I got money in the policy working for it earlier, but that's all part of the concept. I'm able to do that simply because of the design, simply because of the strategy. You cannot do that in a 1090 policy. You just can't. And so it's important to understand that. Now, that said, the other component to here is at year 47, remember, we have this insurance and it's guaranteed. It's going. I don't have to requalify to keep funding my bank. I don't have to keep requalifying to keep funding my bank at 58 years old when I want to redo it again. I don't have to qualify. And guess what? The best policies in the world, the best policies are the mature policies, the policies that have legs, the policies that have been around a long time. They become the most efficient financial vehicles on the face of the earth. You pay basically at the beginning of these, all the fees and the expenses and all that stuff. You want to get through that period of time to make these things get better and better and better. So why in the world would you want to start over and over and over 3 times during your life to try to recapitalize? Now, if you get one policy and it does really well for you and you have $10,000 a year going into it, and then because you've made good investments, you've leveraged that capital, you've gone out and you've bought real estate, you've bought businesses, you've leveraged it as maybe a reserve for your business and things are going well. Now you can afford another $10,000 a year or another $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000 a year in premium. That is when it makes sense to stack these policies. But by doing 1090 policies, you're putting yourself in a position where you are forcing yourself to requalify, and there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And I always tell people a properly designed whole life insurance policy is the only way to guarantee that what you want to happen will happen when you want it to happen, whether you're here to see it or not. And what I can say is a 1090 policy in this instance isn't going to do that. You don't know if you're 35 right now, if by the time you're 47, you're going to have cancer, or by the time you're 58, you're going to have cancer or something of that nature, or some sort of heart disease, or get disabled for some reason and not be able to qualify for insurance. And so, and remember, this is a privilege to be able to do this, to be able to get these policies and put them in place and leverage the systems the way that we're talking about. It's a privilege to be able to do that and have this be able to function in your life the way that we're showing it. And so this is the biggest thing that I can say is when you look at this, this is what you have about 19% more in cash value, right? You are guaranteed to have the insurance and the ability to contribute to this, to keep funding the capital in your reserves right here. And think about this, the downside that most people think about in wanting a 1090 policy, I guess, the positive of buying a 1090 is the liquidity. So they think the downside of a more traditional policy is a lack of liquidity. That's the only reason. But what I'm showing you here is that you really don't have a lack of liquidity. We're keeping the ratios virtually the same, and we're doing this. And so what I will tell you is that this design infinitely, in my opinion, trumps a 1090 policy 1000% of the time, simply because of the fact that it's going to allow you to accomplish what you want to happen on a guaranteed basis. You're not going to have to requalify for this insurance. Now, if you get to the place where you have more cash and you decide that it's in your best interest to get more insurance, and because you have more cash flow and you've obviously shown a propensity and a skill to be able to go out and invest and create wealth, well, that's another story, right? It's an amazing reason to go get more insurance. But to put yourself in a situation with a 1090 policy, it leaves you more exposed. It's more inefficient than people want you to realize. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a horrible thing. I'm not saying all 1090s are bad. I think it's just you have to understand really all the nuances and what you're getting involved with. There's more stuff to it. I'm going to do more videos talking about 1090 policies and really understanding, making sure people understand what they're getting involved with. Because if you understand all the moving parts to it and you still want it and you're willing to take those risks and it makes sense to you, well, God bless, it's a good thing. You're making an educated decision, and that's really all that matters in this, right? However, if you are in a position where you're being sold a 1090 policy and you don't really understand the risks, and you have the ability to fund it properly and design a policy properly to accomplish what you want to accomplish, and you're not looking at all the different options, I would say go ahead and schedule a call with one of my certified coaches in the link below, and they will help you navigate this process for yourself to make sure. We call it a clarity call because you need to have 100% clarity, knowledge, education about what you're doing before you pull the trigger. So that is it. If you have any comments, comment in the comment section below. Any questions, do the same. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. That way you get notified every time I launch a new video. And until next video, have a blessed, inspirational day. Hope you found this valuable. We'll talk soon. See ya.